Welcome back, guys, to another video brought to you by Literary Federal. I'm in my vehicle. On break at work right now, and I wanted to kind of release a lot of things that are on my mind right now, and it's really surrounding current events that are going on in the news today, particularly in the sports world. I don't know if you guys have heard the Joy Taylor lawsuit, sex scandal thing. She's being accused of grooming this hairstylist to use her body in order to climb the corporate ladder. But I heard Jason Whitlock talk about it on his channel Fearless, and I also heard about it on the sports radio station that I was listening to yesterday coming back from work. And my personal opinion about it is that that's nothing revelatory at all. Women have always used their body or used their appeal in regards to sex appeal to get what they want. Now, you do have a portion of women out there that are talented for sure in doing what they do, but if you have the looks and you have the talent as a woman, sky's the limit, because you can use your body, you can use sex in order to get to where you want. And then, allegedly, what's being said in the lawsuit that's being filed against Joy Taylor is saying how she also was grooming her hairstylist, this young Iranian woman, telling her that, hey, then if you sleep with these execs, and you can always come back and say that they forced themselves upon you. You can throw out the grape charge. I use the word grape for YouTube purposes and not so much for Rumble purposes, but I know YouTube is very, very, the algorithm of YouTube, certain words triggers their filtering messaging system. And so they use that to kind of censor certain things. So I don't want to use the RAPE word. So I'm just using the word grape for that. So you can just say grape. You have sex with a man, and then later on you can hang that above his head and say, hey, I'll say that you said you did this if you don't do this for me. And because a lot of men, we think with our genitals, we don't really think with the head above our shoulders. We find ourselves in these traps. And now a lot of people are giving Jason Whitlock pushback the way he described what he described. He described Joy Taylor as with peanut butter skin, and saying that she had some big cans on her. Cans meaning breast, chest. But I think that's much to do about nothing. I think that he sells, when I say he, I'm talking about Jason Whitlock. He puts himself on his platform as being this Christian guy, and he's flawed, and his followers, they bite the bait too, because he paints this picture of a person that's reformed, that's changed. But we all know that even any adult can tell you that they're not who they were when they were younger. Now, there's some adults who do retard their progress. They stay in a mind state of a teenager. They never actually progress. They never actually grow. But for the most of us who have normal brains, we grow. The age that I am now, I was not doing the same things that I'm doing now when I was in my teens or in my early 20s. We grow, we evolve. So Jason Whitlock likes to paint this picture of a man that's changed because of the power of the Bible and the gospel and Jesus and all this other stuff that he likes to preach. But it's not that so much. It's just you just grew the fuck up. We all grow up. There's nobody. You're trying to tell me Jason Whitlock, the way he portrays himself on media, there's no way at his age, there's no person, not just him, there's no one who in their younger years as an adolescent, or let's go even younger, let's say teenager, adolescent, young adult, middle-aged adult, you evolve. They say before you die, you live about 6 or 7 lives, because every 5 to 10 years or every decade or so, you change. It has nothing to do with, you just mature. There's a year of exploration. There's a year of stubbornness. There's a year of aggression that happens in your growth and development. And when you're in that phase as a younger person, you're going to explore and do certain things, especially when your frontal lobe and your brain isn't fully developed. This is all scientific. This has nothing to do with spirituality. We know that Jason Whitlock was into strip clubs, pornography, women, alcohol, but all of us were. All of us were. You listened to me, you were too. Some more than others, but we all dibble and dabble in those things. Now, personally, me, I've never been to strip club. I never liked it, but in terms of drinking and clubbing and partying, pornography, all that stuff, we all dibble and dabble in that stuff. Some people do that today, but we all progress and grow. All right? Younger guys, they sleep around with different women, but as you get older, some men mature, they marry, they only have one woman. They have children. They're focused on their family. It has nothing to do with, I had an epiphany, my life changed, God changed me. No, God didn't change you. You just matured. Your brain is fully developed. The brain of a man, the brain of the man doesn't fully develop till about mid-20s, early 30s. So during that time before your brain is developed, you're very impulsive. You allow your body to lead you. You're led by your emotions. And operating like that doesn't really take you very far. So Jason Whitlock plays the Christian card very well and likes to talk about how I used to curse a lot. I don't curse that much anymore, which is really like infantile in a way that you have to put upon yourself this false sense of piosity as acting like, I don't curse that much. Like, guys, grow up. Like, we curse when we need to. No, when I was young, I cursed unnecessarily, but there's certain times if I'm talking in the heat of, if I'm passionate about something, an F-bomb may fly out, but is that my normal form of speech? No, it isn't. But I think occasionally you're warranted or should be allowed or afforded the opportunity to use a couple of swear words while talking because it's a part of language. It expresses it puts emphasis on a particular topic, and it puts emphasis on a particular subject matter that you're talking about when you use certain words. So what Joy Taylor did, and I get back to her, what she did is there's nothing revelatory about what she's done. Our Vice President Kamala Harris used sex to get to where she was. Many women use it, but I don't have a problem with that because it's the men or it's those in power that allow the women to exercise that right and get to where they want. That's the problem. But then again, is it a problem? I don't think it's a problem. That's just the way society operates. Men have their traits. Men have their superpowers. Men have what they use to get to where they want. Aggression, physicality. We know that it's a male-dominated world, and we get in where we fit in. Most men are hired to do jobs that women wouldn't do, which allows men to afford incomes that certain women won't be able to ever accrue. Most men do the hard jobs, all right, the blue-collar jobs. You don't see a lot of women in certain professions, but you do also see certain women dominate other professions that men don't dominate. Like the teaching profession is dominated by women. The nursing profession is dominated by women. So, but what Joy Taylor did, it should be no lawsuit. It's no big deal. I think that we, as Americans, and media's control, as I've told you guys always, there's definitely a rationale. There's definitely a motive behind what's allowed to be put on the mainstream circuit. Whatever is allowed to come out in the public is done so for a reason. And it's usually founded on distracting people, which is always one of numerous factors, but distraction is always part of it. But if you're a person that thinks, that's a critical thinker, you'll see that what Joy Taylor did, I believe she did it, because all of a sudden you see how she's dressing now on the show. She's dressing more conservatively. She's covering her chest more. She's not revealing much. She's keeping quiet about the issue. It's a lawsuit that's going against her. So she has to be very careful in this time. But I hope nothing comes of it. I don't look down on her for doing what she did. I don't think that anyone should look down on anybody. There's no different than a woman who goes to a strip club, who's a stripper, who earns thousands of dollars from just taking off her clothes and dancing on a pole. We don't demonize strippers. So why are we going to demonize a woman who sleeps her way to the top? It's the same principle. Now, of course, one is actually the sexual intercourse and one is just the tease, but either way, it's still governed by the emission of sexual appeal to the audience that's sitting there receiving that. You're still putting out the sexual vibe in the air for people to receive. That's what you're doing. So it's all centered around sex. And women's main weapon is their sex, is their appeal, sex appeal. Then you have the handful of women out there that are not attractive, but they're very talented. It's hard for them because being talented enough is not enough. You got to be selling something else. And usually if you have the body to sell with the talent, yeah. So in that regard, women do have to work twice as hard. They usually have to do things that they're not proud of to get to where they want. And that's why I look at this situation more in an aspect of pity, an aspect of sort of just viewing it as like, I feel sorry for women who have to do that. I don't think they enjoy it. Now, the way Joy Taylor was talking about it to this, allegedly, according to the lawsuit, according to the documents that are out there, she was expressed it in a way that she's proud of it. But I think deep down in the recesses of her soul, you really can't be proud of doing that. But people have to do what they have to do to make ends meet. We always want more. Who am I to tell somebody you should be happy where you're at? Don't try to climb the ladder of success, because we oftentimes equate success with financial, progress. So the more a person earns, we end up looking at that person as a person that's successful. Success is basically guided, and you're given that label of success based upon your income level, your income status. Are you a millionaire? Are you a billionaire? What do you make a year? What's your salary like? All those components are what drives people to actually say that you're successful or not successful, which is wrong because we have a society that operates, that governs themselves underneath those constructs, then you're going to have the outcome of people doing whatever they can to get the dollar. That's just the fact of the matter. That there's no other way to look at it. If men have the opportunity to sleep their way to the top, they would do the same thing. It's a natural human act. And I don't demonize anybody who does that. Now, if you ask to me, I have daughters. Would I advise my daughters to do that? No. I wouldn't advise my daughters to do that. I would advise them not to do that. But let's say they get older, they choose to do that. I won't look down on my daughters. I won't say, oh, I can't believe you did that. The system that we are governed under, all right, this monetary system, this free market system of being wage slaves and living to work as slaves for money so we can live, and people pushing to make more and more. No one's ever content. Even the most so-called spiritual person who tries to act as if they're so beyond the systems of the world, they're not even satisfied with where they are at. Initially, there's a surge of joy that happens when a person gets a promotion at their job. It's great for a short while. It's really short-lived. But once, after you've bought what you want to buy and you've gotten accustomed to the wealth that you're making under that progress of increased financial gain, then what happens after that is that you start to want to extend further from that, meaning that you want more. The human soul is never satiated. It needs more. It's part of the evolution process. We evolve. If you can evolve mentally, biochemically, genetically, molecularly, if you can evolve in those ways, then those aspects of human existence bleeds into the conceptual aspects of our human existence, meaning that the things that you can conceptualize and see, like money, cars, clothes, homes, buying land or showing off a brand, like all those things that you can conceptualize and see in the physical, you're going to also want to get the best of that as well. So that's what the system has done very well. It's mirrored the internal faculties of our spiritual reality. Our spiritual reality is supposed to be inward and kept sacred and put in a way where it's almost secretive. But what the system has done, it's found a way to extend the unseen that's internal and put it out, making it external and making it to where everybody can see it. So therefore, we've substituted spirituality for materialism. But we equate spirituality to materialism because many people who deem themselves to be Christians will go to church and talk about getting their breakthrough and blessings. Their breakthroughs and blessings are usually predicated on getting more money. So if somebody gets more money, God has blessed me. Then even when you go to church, the pastor's asking you to give money. And then when they're able to build something, they'll say, God has blessed us with this, but the blessing comes through the avenue of getting money. The spiritual systems of the world are predicated on the same carnal system that they are against. So in actuality, it's the same system with just different titles. One is called carnality and one is called spirituality, but both are both carnal. There's nothing spiritual about the world's religious systems. They're all quasi at best. Quasi spirituality. Quasi means fake. Okay? So when I see people like Joy Taylor who, or not just her, to any woman who's trying to make ends meet, if a woman understands like, hold on, I was blessed with the body, my physique, I have a nice pair of racks, I have a nice backside, I have a pretty face. Hey, those guys over there, if I just dance, they're willing to throw money at me. Hold on. I have a bunch of bills that are due. I have a mortgage, or I have rent to pay. Oh, am I going to go to school and get a loan to be in debt after I graduate? Or am I going to just quit school and just go dance to get the money now and then try to use the money that I earned through dancing to start my own business? See, there are many options you can have, but I don't fault anyone. I don't fault anyone for going to school to doing it the right way, because that's also a trap as well. But I don't even fault a woman for so-called degrading herself, taking off her clothes in order to get extra money. What's the problem? What's the problem? The government doesn't have a problem with sending people to go to fight their wars and dying. The government and the banks, they get richer from doing what they do. Why can't people do what they do to get money? As long as you're not hurting anybody directly, causing harm in any way to anybody directly, you're not robbing or stealing from anybody. Hey, what Joy Taylor did, or what she's being accused of doing, sleeping her way to the top. And is she really at the top? She's really not even at the top. She has a sports show. She's moved around from show to show. I'm sure those girls that work at ESPN, I think her name is Malika. Is it Malika Andrews? I'm sure she's slept around. She's with some Caucasian guy who you could just look and tell she's not even into that guy. He's a very powerful guy. I think he's the correct. I could be wrong, but I don't know if he's the executive of something or the producer. He's something. He's not some regular Joe off the street. That's the point that I'm making. These women are very calculated with who they allow in their circle. It's usually men of status because they're trying to get somewhere. But that's the world we live in. That's the game that people are forced to play. And if you don't play the game, then you're left out to just be engulfed and just be buried by the system. And the system buries you and you're done. You have to keep up. It takes a strong-minded person who has a strong will to look at the system for what it is, like myself, to see the system for what it is and still reserve control to be content with where you're at. Not losing your moral code. See, everyone's moral compass is different. I can't impose my moral compass on anybody. The one thing that I do detest, and the one thing that I abhor with a high degree, is people who are willfully ignorant and people who follow systems blindly without thinking. I'm a person that hates when people don't think. And even if you think, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to arrive at the right answer to everything. It doesn't mean that just because you think that you're always going to make the right decision, but at least attempt to think. When the system has put things in place for you not to think, it robs you of the ability to even exercise that part of your brain to even think. You start to atrophy cognitively. You start to diminish that muscle because you're not using it. I mean, we have it around us now. Can't we see the current climate of our existence with all this AI stuff that helps us with everything? Remember back in the past, you would have to remember where you're going. Now with GPS takes you everywhere. But when you take away GPS, all of a sudden you become clueless. But back then we were forced to use landmarks and physical artifacts around us to mark where we were at. We were forced to use our brains to read street signs, to remember, okay, this street is this, there's a gas station over here, I know. And it was okay to get lost every now and then, but you getting lost allowed you to remember your surroundings much better. But we've taken that away. We've taken away the ability to think. And the point that I'm making is that when you think, you will make mistakes when you think, but it's okay. The best thing that happens is not the outcome, whether you make a mistake or not. It's the fact that you're using your brain. That's the best outcome. And when you take the ability to use the brain away from people, and you take that regular routine opportunity to use your brain away from people, then the end result is that you have a dumber society. So those are the only things that I hate when people don't think. I think the normal reaction is to look at what somebody's doing, put somebody down to put yourself at a more moral to put yourself at a higher moral status than somebody else. And that's what Jason Whitlock is pretty much doing. I'm a Christian. This lady is sleeping her way to the top. Even though I use the term peanut butter skin and rack, those aren't really bad terms, but I have to be explicit with my art. Like, he panders to a very ignorant audience. And I say that with all due respect. It's ignorant because you guys don't see the game that he's playing. People are clamoring and are very desperate in our times today, seeking famous people, celebrities, public figures to use the term Jesus. And if anybody, an artist, a football player, an athlete, or whoever, a popular person, if they use the term Jesus and everything, then people, Christians, just run to that person. Oh my God, he said Jesus, he's a believer. Because we're so desperate to have Jesus become mainstream, but Jesus is already mainstream. Christianity is like the biggest religion in the world. We don't need to mainstream it anymore. And anything that's mainstream, we know that it's really bad for your psyche and bad for your spiritualism. And anything that's mainstream is bereft of any substance. It doesn't have anything. It lacks substance. It lacks depth. It's usually shallow and it's usually surface. And at heart, it's carnal. It's fleshy. It doesn't feed the spirit because it's mainstream. Anyone can get on that. You don't have to think. You just jump on because it's socially accepted. Christianity is socially accepted. Going to church is socially accepted. It's something that, hey, we all do. True spirituality never had anything to do with going anywhere. Spirituality is how you live, how you think, how you eat, how you breathe, how you treat your loved ones, your aspirations, how you deal with nature, how you communicate with the sun, how the sun communicates with you. That's spirituality, not reading a damn book and having somebody teach you scriptures. And especially not having somebody get on air talking about, oh, I'm a Christian. Like, we're all spiritual beings. Just a lot of us just spiritually retarded. And we're going backwards at a very phenomenal rate. And a lot of us are trying to evolve and ascend spiritually. And that forces you to think. Inevitably, you have to think if you're trying to strive in this means of spiritualism, which is far different from what we think is spirituality, with this religion stuff that surrounds us. So yeah, women sleeping around to get success, that's not something I frown upon. I just frown upon the system that gave women the opportunity to have to do that. See, I can't get mad at people who are operating with the rules that are given in the game that they're playing. Like they say, don't hate the player, you just hate the game. I'm just part of the game. I'm playing. You know, women would get jealous at women who look good, who are climbing the ladder of success, and say, oh, that's not fair, she's sleeping around. Well, you get in shape and you try sleeping around and get up there. Now, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. But don't hate another person or talk down on another person that's doing that. Whatever floats their boat, let it float their boat. If that's not your thing, then don't do it. Don't ever compromise your moral compass to do something, because therefore you start to, that's how mental disease actually starts to occur. The inception of mental illness starts when you start to violate your conscience in a way where you start to make things that are normally repulsive to you, those things become the norm. You try to, it's sort of like you're accepting perversions and you're accepting an inverted way of living, and you're forcing your conscience to accept that as normal. That does something to the brain. All your dipple antennas in the brain, all the lobes, the occipital cortex, cerebellum, the ventrium, the ventricle, the anterior part of your brain, all of that stuff, where your pineal gland is, the third or fourth ventricle of the brain. I mean, all of that is impacted when you're forcing yourself to live in a way that you know is wrong. But eventually, if you force yourself to do that, the wrong becomes right and the right becomes wrong. That's when you have problems. Don't violate your moral code. Now, some people don't know any better. They do things because they're put in that state. They have no choice. Let those people who do that do that. I don't know Joy's upbringing. I know her brother was a Hall of Fame football player. I'm sure she was financially okay, but I'm sure she doesn't want to live off her brother. She wants to do her own thing. She made a choice to do what she's doing. If her choice is to get to where I want by sleeping around, let her do it. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? That's her. If that's something that you wouldn't do as a woman, then you don't do it. But talking down on her to make yourself, that's what people do. They love to see people who do something stupid and they talk about it because it puts themselves in a higher light, or they perceive it to put themselves in a higher light. They're like, oh, look at what she's doing over there. I would never do that. That's fine that you would never do it, but she's doing it and she's doing just fine financially. Now, we know money isn't everything, but money is something. Money is something. So that's all I have to say. That's my take on that Joy Taylor thing. I don't think it's a big deal. Now, I know I'm a man, and certain women may listen to this and say, well, you don't understand because you're a man. No, I mean, even men that do certain things. Now, I'm never for men putting hands on women, but I'm never for women putting their hands on men either. So there are certain things that men do that I'm against. I'm against being violent, okay? From both females and males. Because there are women out there that beat men, but men don't report it because you look weak if you do it. If a woman does it, she's the damsel in distress, and let's go cage the man up and throw him in prison. But if you look at the context of the situation, you'll know that the man most of the times are defending themselves from aggressive women who are violent. I was married to a violent woman before too. I didn't hit her. I had to defend myself from her. You know, I had to get out of the house. Like, hey, whoa. I'm packing my stuff. I'm getting out before you force me to do something that I don't want to do. You're a woman. I'm a man. Who do you think hits harder? In your anger and in your rage, hit me your hardest. And if I react with the same anger and rage you have, I would kill you. That's the difference. Don't poke the bear if you don't want the response from the bear. Equal rights, equal lefts. You want equal rights, you get equal lefts. So that's my spiel. I just think that we should become a society that's slow to judge, because you're not judging. Don't judge the people. You judge the system. The system is the thing that should be requiring the most criticism. The system is the culprit to the actions of men. Now, it's not an excuse, and it doesn't justify many of the things that we do, but in certain cases, it's a great influential agent that puts people in situations that they probably wouldn't be proud of. Because if you think that Joy Taylor is proud of what she's doing, then she would still be coming on the show with her racks exposed. She's changed her whole dress code. Speak for Yourself, or whatever show that she's on with Emmanuel Acho. Watch her now, how she dresses. She's covered up. Because she's no woman will be proud of that. No woman puts her hands up and says, yeah, I slept my way to the top. It's frowned upon. It's not something that you want to brag about. It's not something that you go announcing to people. And if you have kids one day, you don't go telling your children, yeah, I slept, your mom slept her way to the top. No. But because there's certain needs, because we are materialists, we're not spiritualists anymore. Some of us still are, but the majority of us are materialists. And we've equated materialism and spirituality. We've put them on the same frequency. So there's a convolution of ideas that are going on that we can't even have a clear demarcation or a clear distinctive line that's drawn that says, okay, this is spirituality and this is materialism. We've put them together. We now equate people who are materially wealthy as being spiritually inept or spiritually astute. We say, hey, they've gotten there. I mean, even in the Bible stories you read, the rich, Jacob being rich because God blessed him. You see that? How they equate blessings with richness. But the concept of richness is the system that our oppressors have used to govern us and put us in a stage of being ignorant about what true spirituality is, along with the tinkering and the manipulation of our genetics as well. It's also put us in a state where we can never reach our highest potential in terms of spiritualism. We have some that are more, they're more advanced than others, but in terms of where we're supposed to be, none of us, we're far from it. We're far from it. It takes an extreme way of living that's contrary to the way the system is currently constructed to actually be spiritual. And it's very hard to do so if you have kids. Like those monks that hide away from society and are very disciplined in what they do. It looks like they're punishing themselves, but they're not really punishing themselves. The system is cancerous. The system that we live in is antithetical to true spiritualism. So you almost have to live in an extreme way that's viewed by people as you living in a way that's punishment or something that's a consequence in a negative way to your existence. You're doing something that's bad for you. Live a little bit, enjoy life, and da 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 da. But when you do those things, you actually are whoring your soul out to the system, therefore extracting the true spiritual nature of who you are. The system is like kryptonite to Superman. The minute Superman nears kryptonite, it weakens him. The fact that we exist in the system, our spirituality is automatically taken away. You can't escape it. That's why I tell people all the time, like you can't be spiritual on earth. You can endeavor, you can push your way to try to be spiritual. You can live above the rest. You can practice certain things that are different from what the normal man or woman practices. And yes, you may be in an infinitesimal way. Like you may grow a little bit more than the average person, but there won't be a radical difference in one man to another unless you make the choice to live in an extreme way that's going to be counterintuitive to your natural disposition. Your natural disposition is to want to enjoy life. But that's the way we've been constructed. We've been built with an animal brain to dominate our spiritual brain. All right? We're more animalistic than we are spiritual because of the environment, because of the system, because of our DNA being manipulated with by extraterrestrials. All right? And the fake quasi-religious systems that governs us. Because we sit here docile waiting for a savior, not knowing that we're supposed to be alive now working on ourselves as a collective. And our differences has become a huge barrier to stop that ultimate human consciousness of coming together to be as one. We saw that in the Bible as, all human beings coming together. They were building the ziggurat. They were able to actually do what they wanted to do. And your God, the ones that you guys serve and get on your knees for, he said, I can't have man. Men could do whatever they want. We can't have them come together. So let's break them up and split up their languages. And in that time of separating languages, DNA separation also occurred. Genetic separations occurred. So we no longer are speaking the same language. We're divided by language. We're divided by culture. We're divided genetically. So we have all these differences. So we're easily conquered. When you hear terms like people united, it says divided we fall, united we win, or whatever that saying is. Like, if you're united, it's hard to come against a united front. There usually has to, what usually happens is that you have to have an external manifestation of a divine order, or something not necessarily divine, but I would say something that's supernatural, something that exceeds the natural state of your existence. Something that's more powerful than you has to come into the fold and manipulate your reality in order to cause that division to occur, which makes humanity easily conquered. So we become a race of people, a race of humans that's easily conquered because we're so divided by language, by genetics, by geographical location, by our cultures. All right. So looking at what Joy has done, I don't frown at her. Many women do it. I'm not a woman, so I don't know how other women look at it. But as a man, I don't have a problem with it. And I just think that it's the system that we're in. Not everyone's going to get on their little podcast and talk down about what Joy's doing and how disgraceful it is and da 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 da. And I'm like, look, man, the lady was smart. She says, hold on, I can use my body to get what I want. And she's using it. No different than athletes using their athleticism to get what they want. Yeah, there are a lot of athletes that are very smart. But once they're done playing, they're such a wreck physically that it starts to impact their mental state. The system uses the athleticism of our people to gain them billions of dollars. So Joy is like, I'm going to use my body to gain myself millions of dollars. Same parallel, folks. Different gender, different means of operation, but all within the same paradigm. It doesn't change. It's still using your body for something. In the realm of materialism is the true spirituality. That's the problem. That's the foundation. And you have people like Jason Whitlock that's playing upon the ignorance of a lot of believers who love to just see anybody on television talk about the Bible, and they follow those people wholeheartedly without thinking. Jason Whitlock is playing on the emotions of people, on the weaknesses of people who are just emotional sycophants, who are willing to just listen to anybody talk about their Bible. And he holds himself as this person that's changed. Jason Whitlock, you're not a changed man because of anything that you think this God has done, which doesn't exist, which is nothing but an extraterrestrial. Okay, because this God that you serve lives in another dimension, is not from this world. That's an alien, folks. When your Jesus tells you that my kingdom is not of this world, then if some entity, whatever sentient being exists that does not live in this world, that their home is somewhere else, then that entity is an alien. You cannot call that entity a human. So you worship an alien, Jason Whitlock, an extraterrestrial that doesn't give a damn about you, that operates underneath the law of duality, as we all do. The law of duality says that you have the ability, the will to do good, and you have the will to do bad, depending on what is going to serve a purpose that you're seeking. Okay? So the law of duality operates in all of us. There's no all-knowing, benevolent being that's out there doing good for everybody at all times. That shit doesn't exist. It's fairy tales for adults. I can't believe I used to actually believe that when I was younger. But I evolved, I grew, I matured. And Jason Whitlock is just playing on the emotions of men's minds and women's minds who haven't fully developed. And I think that you do have to be mentally repressed from reaching your optimal functioning state of the brain. The optimal functioning state of the brain has to be repressed to a certain degree for you to still believe that out of all the people in the world, God chose 12 ignorant men who didn't know how to write, or even or they were illiterate, to actually write the New Testament. 40-something authors out of all the people in the damn world. He just chose and he spoke through them. What were they? He was dictating the words to them and they were writing it. I mean, the hell is this? It's a bullshit story. And what Jason Whitlock is doing, he's using that Christian platform because he's fearless for God and has to be biblical. No, we just evolved, guys. I mean, my father, I heard wild stories about him when he was younger, but then when he got older, he wasn't doing those things anymore. That's everybody. That's everyone. But the sad part is we start to attribute and give homage and give credit to some spiritual concept that's far from spiritual to saying that that's why we changed. No, you didn't change because of anything spiritual. You changed because of you. You changed. The maturation of a butterfly doesn't start with the butterfly being a butterfly. It starts as something else before it becomes a butterfly. Same thing with the human experience. You started as something else, you evolve into something else. That's just the natural maturation of the growth process, both physically, physiologically, and molecularly, genetically, psychologically. You just grow. The brain of a 2-year-old is very different from a brain of a 40-year-old. The way a 2-year-old deals with emotions or a 3 or 4-year-old deals with their emotional state is going to be much different than an adult. You can't compare the two. No different trying to compare the life of an adolescent to a life of an older man. The things that Jason Whitlock did in his younger years, and he's trying to compare the way he is now and giving some kind of credit to God, Bible, I'm trying to be right. Look, man, we all change. We all. Even you guys listen to me, you know, if you're in your 40s, you can look back at your life and say, man, I did some dumb things when I was younger. That's part of the evolution process, folks. We all change. We change. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I went longer than I wanted, but again, I don't care what people do. As long as you're not harming, doing anything illegal, you're not stealing, you're not killing, and you're not harming anybody. And the government does all three to us. And yet we hail the government as being an agency or some kind of corporation that's for the people, by the people, and it's far from that. We have a treasonous government that doesn't care about people. And here we are today talking about what Joy Taylor did in order to step up her financial, status. Hey, look, women, do you. And I know you're human because we know society, social pressure has a way of dictating what's acceptable, what's socially acceptable, and what's not socially acceptable. But because it's not socially acceptable for women to sleep their way to the top, so she's kind of like, let me cover up. You all right? But look, I'm not mad at you, sis. Do what you do. I mean, if those men, slept with you, they got something out of it too. It was an equal exchange. They got sex, you got advancements. Consensual. And if you're gonna use what I don't like is you trying to use the grape allegation or saying a man forced themselves on you and to blackmail them. That I don't like. Don't do that. Now you're lying. But sleeping your way to the top, do you? Women who are strippers, getting money, do you? Men who are marrying strippers, you're the idiot for marrying a stripper while she's stripping. You may want to wait till she evolves out of that stage of stripping and gets older and wants to settle down. Don't marry a stripper. Don't marry a dancer, exotic dancers. Don't marry adult stars, adult film stars. Don't do that. Not while they're in the profession. Wait till they get out of it. Okay? You don't want to be marrying a woman that's getting poked by other men. Or you don't want to marry a woman that's showing off her body to other men while dancing. And as a man, that really hurts the ego. It's very shameful to have your woman out there being exposed that way. But some men are okay with it. I personally would not be. Okay, guys, that's my spiel there. Joy, do what you do, man. I don't have anything about what you do. And any other woman out there that's using their sex appeal to get what they want, use it, girl. Use your hair, use your ass, use your tits. Use what you have to use to get there. It's a hard world. The system we live in has put us in a way to induce stress and keep those who are rich, and keep those who are in control. So if you want to gain your control back, use your assets, use your natural genetic gifts that you've been given, and use it to the best of your ability. Don't violate your moral compass. If you feel okay, if you can go to sleep at night doing what you do it. If you cannot go to sleep at night doing what you do, don't do it. Don't violate your conscience. Everyone comes into this world with a different moral code based upon your personal experiences, based upon certain traumas, based upon certain epigenetic factors. So you have to always think about those things. Everybody is living a human experience. We're all one is all is one, but we all have different experiences, and we're coming through with different states of consciousness. So our awareness, that's what consciousness means. Our awareness is going to actually dictate what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So we have to allow ourselves to grow at our own time. So I'm going to always talk this way. Some people will awaken later. Some people will never awaken, but it's okay. But you just have to the alarm is ringing. Some are going to wake up and some are going to still stay asleep, but we have to be patient enough to allow those to wake up, as I was. I was asleep too. I didn't know. I was into the religion. I was into the Bible. I was into all that stuff. Even when I was younger, I was into the pornography. I was into the alcohol. I was into that. I did all that stuff. But now I don't have any ambition to do that. I'm simpler. I'm just chill. Those things don't even excite me. It's not because God changed my life, because I evolved. But there are other men my age who have not yet. They're still struggling with some of those things, but it's okay. We all evolve at our own time. All right? Peace. I love you guys. And remember, your health is your wealth. All right, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think about the things that I just discussed, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Peace.